Welcome everybody. Welcome to White City Place Connect, where we're offering occupiers of White City Place a live platform from which to learn and engage from the comfort and safety of your own homes. My name's Dora. If you haven't practiced with me before, you're very, very welcome. We're going to be needing a yoga mat, possibly a brick if you have one. Don't worry if you don't, a water bottle might do, or even a book, or you might not even need one at all. And we'll come down onto our mats. Just place whatever prop you have perhaps at the front of your mat. And take the right shin in front of the left. And just wiggle the ankles underneath the knees as much as you can. So the shins are almost parallel to the top edge of the mat. Take the hands behind you so you can leave that for a moment, softening the elbows. And just gradually allow the weight of your thigh bones to start to release down. Now if you're holding your knees up, either unconsciously or consciously, this may be because you're protecting a part of yourself. So just be aware of that, respect that. And we're going to come down onto our forearms. Have a sense that the inner thighs are running forward from the groins to the inner knees. And then we'll make our way all the way to the floor. Maybe wiggling the feet a little bit further across. It's quite a strong opening into the hips and the groins. So if it doesn't feel comfortable, you might want to take a Baddha Konasana, so just soles of the feet together, or even raise the knees with the feet flat to the floor. Let's take our longest finger on the right hand and just stroke down the center of the forehead from the hairline to the bridge of the nose. Just a few times. And as you do this, you're softening the face downwards. Maybe the back of the neck lengthens. The chin may soften towards the throat a little bit. Just stroking and soothing, calming the frontal lobe of the brain, the thinking part of your brain. And release the hand back to the floor. Let's change the course of the shins here. So you could slide the feet out and slide them across. Wiggling the ankles underneath the knees or in that direction. Remember, these instructions are intentional rather than result-based. So somewhere towards that intention. Seeing if you can release the weight of your thigh bones down. And this time we're going to take the hands onto the lower belly. And just feeling the breath that's here. So taking the heat, excitation out of the mind. Down into the center of ourselves. Releasing the hands. As you draw your knees towards your armpits, feet float off the floor, you can have one ankle crossed over the other. Take the hands around the kneecaps, molding around the kneecaps, and start to rotate the knees around towards the right. If you want to add a head, you can start to turn the head to the opposite way of the knees. As the knees roll around, so it feels like you're just doing a circle or a few little circles through the body. And then changing the cross of the ankle, rotate in the opposite direction. You can keep the head straight if that's confusing. Start to turn the head in opposition to the knees. The knees are rolling around in a circle, the head is just rolling across the back of the skull. Lovely, and then draw the knees towards one another, slip the hands behind the backs of the thighs, and rock yourself up to seated. When you come to that same square pose as best you can, We'll have the right shin in front of the left. And wiggling the ankles underneath the knees. We're going to wake ourselves up a little bit here. So taking the web between your first finger and thumb and placing them onto your hip bones. So kind of anchoring down here from the navel, and from the navel everything rises. Let's just start to twist, keeping the chin in line with the breastbone. So it might be quite a small little twist here. We're going to inhale to one side, exhale to the other. Just in and out through the nose. Just experiencing, feeling into how much rotation you have in this part of your spine that runs down into the pelvis. It's the part of our spine that has the least amount of mobility. And the breath might be quite rapid, as the twists are quite small. We can take the hands that we V-shape onto the waist, and the twist might become a little bit bigger now. Maybe, maybe not. Inhaling one side, exhaling the other, and just feeling into the amount of rotation that you have in this part of your spine. Taking the fingers up onto the rib cage. Maybe the first fingers are just underneath the breasts or the pecs. Feel how the swing might be a little bit larger now, and the breath is becoming a little bit longer. Raising energy from the base up to the crown of the head. Keep going. And thumbs come underneath the armpits. The swing might become a little bit bigger still. Feeling into this part of the spine, the amount of rotation that you have here. Fingertips onto the tips of the shoulders. Swinging into the middle back, thoracic spine. Breath might be a little slower, a little longer. Fingertips onto the crown of the head as you continue to twist. Creating quite a lot of heat, quite a lot of energy here. And then the arms swing out and there's this big swing now. Swing towards the right and pause. Take the left hand onto the knee, the right thumb behind you. Again, notice if you're holding your knees up, if you can release the thigh bones down. Lift out of those bottom fingers. Turn this left palm upwards. Reaching the right arm up behind you as you hinge over, shoulder towards the knee. You can maybe let this top arm drape over. Palm could face up towards the ceiling. And then you're lifting the elbow up, opening up through the front right quadrant of your chest into the lung tissue here. To bring this top arm over, take the fingertips onto the knees. Round the spine as you exhale. Navel and heart drop back. Inhaling, coming towards the fronts of the sit bones. Take a hold of your elbow points. Frame your head with your arms. Melt the shoulders. You can keep the arms here if you like, or bring them onto the floor. Maybe come onto the tips of your toes. Staying here, or floating the toes. Coming into a half boat pose. Couple of options. And then taking your left shin in front, wiggling the ankles underneath the knees and reaching the arms up. We're not going to be doing all of that twisting again, so I'm just going to twist towards the left, reaching up as if the tips of the fingers were magnetized. Float the right hand onto the knee of the thigh and the left thumb just drops onto the floor, lands onto the floor in line with your tailbone. And we're not pressing the knees down. We're noticing if we may be holding them up unconsciously or consciously. Breathing here. Turning your right palm upwards, Left arm floats up as if the left shoulder were to come to the knee. Top arm drifts over, palm facing up, lifting the elbow, opening up through the upper left quadrant of your chest here. And the top arm comes over, hands onto the knee, arms across. Navel and chest release towards the back spine. Exhale, inhaling, turning your palms upwards and maybe sliding the backs of the hands, forearms across. You could fold here, maybe even letting the head go, chin hanging over the arms. And then making your way up out of this and curling your shins around, coming onto your hands and your knees. So you may want a little bit of softness, a little bit of padding for your knees here. So I'm going to fold my blanket up and just place it in the center, just for my knees. Coming into a tabletop. Make sure the wrists are underneath the shoulders. I'm going to slide the left leg away, tucking the toes. Look down and bring the right hand in line with the right knee. And as you pivot on the right knee, like a kickstart with that shin, bring the back heel to the floor. Left arm comes onto the top edge of the body. And I'm going to look down towards the hand that's on the floor, just checking that I'm not stacking that elbow, locking out that elbow. So softening the elbow, so the inner eye of the elbow is almost turning to face my thigh. On the inhale, the leg rises, the arm comes over by the cheek, and I'm going to look up. Exhale, bring the foot to the floor, arm onto the top edge of the body, look down. 2 more times. Inhaling, leg rises, arm comes over by the cheek, look up. Exhale, foot to the floor, arm onto the top edge of the body, look down. 1 more time. Inhaling. Exhaling. Really anchor through that back foot. And if you feel you can still look down. Pick up your right toes to your inner knee. As you take the shin back to the floor, take the left fingertip to the floor and walk your fingers around towards the front. Pivot on the knee again so the right toes are behind the knee. Make sure the whole of that left foot is grounded. You might need to take it forward a little bit. And then coming forward here, making 2 little cups with your hands, melting the heart. Keep the center of each palm lifted, maybe the armpits lifted. If that's too much, you can have the palms flat onto the earth. Lifting the chest a little bit. Flip up your left hand, feed it through so the back of the arm is on the floor. Bending your right elbow, lift the right upper arm and spin your chest underneath. It's a lovely, quite strong opening into the thoracic spine. Unwinding yourself here. Walking the fingertips back a little bit and then walk yourself over towards the right. Pivot on the knee. Press down through the palms. Float the right shin off the floor, thigh towards the belly. Step back into a high plank, lengthen through the spine, find your 4 points of contact here. Lower knees, chest and chin as you exhale. Inhale, glide through, lengthen your toes, lift your navel and come and sit back into a modified child's pose. Inhaling, coming up onto your hands and your knees. I'm going to turn around here so I don't have my back to you. And extend your right leg out, tucking the toes. Bring your left hand in line with your knee. As you pivot on the left knee, the toes come back, the right foot comes to the floor. Right arm onto the top edge of the body, look down. And just notice if you're stacking, if you're a bit hyperextended in that elbow. Can you soften so the inner eye of the elbow turns a little bit more towards you? As the leg floats up, the arm comes over by the cheek. Look up, inhale. One long edge to the top of your body. Exhale, foot comes to the floor, arm onto the top edge of the body, look down. Inhaling. Exhaling. Inhale. Exhale. Firmly root through your right foot. So you could possibly, and reach back with the fingertips, lift the toes, left toes to inner knee. Take the shin back to the floor, fingertips to the earth. Walk yourself around. Bring that right foot forward if you need to. Knee more or less in line with the inner arch of the foot. Stretch your fingertips forward, making little cups with your hands. Heart bows towards the earth. Center of each palm and armpits lifted. And lifting the chest enough to flip up your right palm. Feed it through, thread it through. And lifting the left elbow, left upper arm as you spin your chest through. Making your way up out of this. Hands walk back a little bit. Walk yourself around towards the left. Right toes are tucked. Hands directly underneath your shoulders. Lift the front shin, thigh to belly. And step back into a high plank. Take the weight through the spine. Maybe you can pop up onto the tips of your right fingers, keeping the hips relatively square. And imagine your fingers were glued to the earth with chewing gum or something sticky. And you're going to lift the elbow, just peeling the fingertips off. And then slowly release that hand back down to the floor. Come onto the left fingertips. And as if they were glued, start to lift from the elbow. Stickiness, a connection there, and then release the hand to the floor. Lower your knees, chest and chin as you exhale. Inhale, glide through. Exhale, tuck toes. Downward facing dog. Couple of breaths here as you soften the elbows. You can bend one knee and then the other. If you like, or just be still with the movement of the breath. Whatever feels intuitively juicy for you to open up the tissues in the backs of the legs. And softening the heels. Notice the positioning of the head. If you're looking at your toes, it may be a little bit dipped below the length of the spine. Or you may be holding your head a little bit too high. Think of the crown of the head as the top of the spine, perineum the end of your spine. And then softening the knees and walking your hands back towards your feet. So you're standing at the back of your mat with your feet a good hip distance apart, hanging over your legs. Notice if the weight shifts itself as you take a hold of the elbows. Just bringing a little bit more weight down through the spine, a little bit of traction to the spine. And then looking forward along your mat, release the hands to the floor and start to walk your hands back into your downward facing dog. Walk your feet forward towards the backs of your wrists. Feet are a hip distance apart. Take an inhale, come all the way up to standing. And let's just rest the fingertips onto the tips of your shoulders here. We'll do a little kind of figure of 8 movement here. Again, just some movement into the thoracic spine, mobilizing all the little joints that attach the ribs to the sternum and the spine, little intercostal muscles, and then in reverse. Wonderful. Coming to the center, standing at the front of your mat and picking up your left heel. So the ball of the foot is pressing down here. We're going to keep the shape of that foot. Actually, we'll keep the foot down for a moment for our first vinyasa. And twist towards the left. Coming back through to the center. Step back with your left toes into your lunge. Narrow the pelvic bones. Float the fingertips off the shoulders, reaching up as you inhale. And as you exhale, softly land the back knee. Float the fingertips underneath the shoulders as you lift your sit bones. Lift the front toes, Ardha Hanumanasana. Keep a bend in the knee. Actually, you're trying to pull your mat back with your heel to activate the back of the hamstring. And then walking yourself back onto the foot. Float your right arm up into a twist, looking up towards the thumb. Good. As you lift your back knee, keep the hips low. Bring the top arm over by the cheek. Inhale. As you soften the back knee, exhale. Reach back, look towards your right thumb. 2 more times. Inhale. Extending the back leg, keep the heel towards the skirting board, keeping the twist. And exhale. 1 more time. Inhaling. Exhaling. Take the back arm up and over. Take the hands to the floor. Lift the back knee. Step back into a high plank. Come onto the tips of your right fingers. Maybe lifting the elbow. There's that chewing gum sensation. And then maybe stretching the right arm by the ear. And placing the hand down. Shift the weight onto the right hand. Come onto the tips of your left fingers. Leading with the elbows so the wrist is draping. Stretch the arm by the ear. Take the hand down. Lower knees, chest and chin as you exhale. Inhale, glide through. Exhale, lift your navel, tuck your toes, downward facing dog. Sink your left heel, float your right leg up into space behind you. Press the big toe joint away. Look into the space between your hands. Step the foot forward. Glide your back foot forward to fold. Feet are hip distance apart. Soften, release the crown of the head. Come all the way up to standing as you inhale, taking the fingertips onto the tips of your shoulders. Raise your right heel, pressing down through the ball of the foot, and twist towards the right. Coming back through to the center, step back with your right toes into a high lunge and float the fingertips off the shoulders as you reach up. Inhale, exhale, softly land the back knee. Take the fingertips underneath the shoulders, Ardha Hanumanasana. You need some padding for that knee. Flex the toes back towards the shin. Imagine trying to drag that heel back towards you. Walking yourself back onto the foot, floating the left arm up into a twist. As you lift the back knee off the floor, stay low in the hips, arm comes over by the cheek. Inhale, exhale, lower the knee down and look towards that left arm as you reach back towards the heel. 2 more times. Inhale, so you keep this opening twist to the heart. Exhale. 1 more time. Inhale. Exhale. Take the arm all the way up and over. Hands to the floor. Step back into a high plank. You can stay with knees, chest and chin, or chaturanga as you peer over the top edge of your mat, coming down, maybe through into an upward facing dog, or you can stay with your baby vinyasa. Lift your navel, roll over the toes, stretch back down dog. Softening the elbows, turning the tricep muscles towards one another. There's a little scooping action in the armpits. Sink your right heel, float the left leg up behind you. Look into the space between your hands, step the foot forward. Glide your back foot forward to fold and come all the way up to standing as you inhale, taking the fingertips onto the tips of your shoulders. Pick up your left heel, press down to the ball of your foot. You're going to keep the same shape of your foot, so it's a half pointed, half flexed foot. And as you twist towards the left, towards the knee, maybe the knee lifts up. So you turn back around towards the front, cross the left thigh over so there's no gap. Toes could come to the floor. Reach your arms forward. So it's a variation of Garudasana. So I've got my left toes just on the earth there for a little bit of support. If you wanted more, squeeze the thighs together and let those toes lift off. And feel a lengthening through your shin, so the energy is moving out through your foot there. Soften into the hip creases. And round again. And lift the knee as you inhale. Exhale, step back into a high lunge. Float the fingertips to the floor. Take a little hamstring stretch. So lifting, elevating the hips backwards, extend the heart. Rebend the knees. So this is where you might need your brick or your water bottle or a book or something to elevate the hand underneath your left hand and float your right arm up. So begin to straighten that front knee. The arm comes over by the cheek. Inhale. Exhale, bend the knee and look back. This time keep the back leg extended. So without getting soggy in that back leg. Begin to straighten the front leg. Right arm comes over by the cheek. Inhale. Exhale, reach back, look towards the thumb. One more time. Inhaling. Exhaling. As that top arm comes over, lose the brick or prop or water bottle, hands to the floor. Step back into a high plank, bring the feet together. Roll onto the outer right foot here, maybe stacking the ankles onto the left fingertips. And then this left elbow is going to lift. There's that chewing gum feeling there with the fingers. And then plant the palm back down into the earth. Pivot onto the balls of the feet. Step your feet hip distance apart. Vinyasa or no vinyasa, you could just simply lift into a down dog. Your choice. Sinking your left heel, floating your right leg up behind you. Step the foot forward in between the hands. Glide your back foot forward to fold and come all the way up to standing as you inhale, fingertips onto the tips of your shoulders. Pick up your right heel, root down to the ball of your foot. And as you pick up the knee, twist towards that knee. Crossing the right thigh over so the supporting leg bends also. Square the shoulders, maybe the toes just rest. Float the fingertips off the shoulders, upper arms by the ears. Deepen the crease into the thighs. Maybe you can squeeze your thighs together so much that the toes float off. And there's an energy that reaches out to the ball of your foot there. Rising up, knee lifts. Step back into a high lunge. Float the fingertips to the floor. Take a hamstring stretch here as you exhale. Inhale, coming back into your lunge. Take your prop. On its highest level, right hand comes onto the top. Left arm floats up, twisting towards the knee. And as you begin to straighten the leg, the arm comes over by the cheek. Inhale. It's a variation on a reverse triangle. Exhale. Reach back, look back without the back leg becoming soggy. Inhaling, pulling your left hip back in space. Exhale. Try not to be too heavy on the brick here. One more time. Inhale. Exhale. Take your arm up and over. Hands to the floor. Loose the blocks. Step back with your left toes into a high plank. Bring the feet together. Roll onto the outer left foot, maybe stacking the ankles. Flex the feet as if you were skidding. Come onto the right fingertips. And then lift up with the elbows as if the fingers were attached to the floor with chewing gum. Pour the weight back into the hand. Spin back into a high plank. Vinyasa, baby vinyasa. Chaturanga up dog. This is a baby variation that I'm demonstrating. Or simply lift up and back into your downward facing. Sinking your left heel, float your right leg up behind you, look forward, step the foot in between the hands, glide your back foot forward to fold, come all the way up as you inhale, fingertips onto the tips of your shoulders, pick up your left heel, ball of the foot, bit of repetition, maybe lift the knee as you twist towards the knee, you could open the arms out, palms facing up, and then windmill your back arm, your left arm up and over. Take the knee back, left fingertips to the floor. You might catch your foot with your hand. So it's going to be opposite hand to foot here. Float the right fingertips to the floor. Bring that knee in. Curl yourself into a little ball. And dive that with your left toes, walking the fingertips back towards you. Sweep your left arm back. Take your brick and take it inside of the foot, and then carry yourself up into a warrior two with your right knee bent. Float your right hand onto the brick. So we're going to give ourselves lots of height and lots of space today. Bit of extra support. I think we could all do with a bit of that. Begin to straighten the front leg. Arm comes up and over into a triangle. Inhale, exhale, re-bend the knee, arm comes onto the top edge of the body. Should we add a head to this? So maybe as you begin to straighten the leg, arm comes over, look up. Exhale, arm onto the top edge of the body, look down towards the right foot. Swinging the hips back, arm comes up and over. There's a little external rotation in your front thigh. So the inner thigh rotates up. Exhale. Pushing into your front foot, move the block slightly out of the way, rise up into a warrior two. Sweep the left fingertips to the floor so they're equal distance between your toes. Still in a warrior two pose here. Let's look down. As you turn your right toes in, begin to straighten the leg. You might need to move the fingers, extend to the crown of the head. You could look up. And like we did earlier, you're going to sweep this top arm behind the one that's on the floor, turn your left toes out, bend the knee, so you can reach, catch a hold of the shin or the ankle, and then lift your left upper arm forward and spin your chest underneath. Spin yourself around towards your left foot, and lower your back knee down onto the earth. So you might need a little bit of padding here underneath the knee. I'm just going to grab my blanket. So we've got the left foot in front. Good. Reach up your left arm. This might be enough, taking the hips forward. Or you could pick up your back foot, reach around, catching the foot. So the more open the hip flexor is, the more we can bring our hips forward, the less we're going to be balancing right on the top of the kneecap, which is going to be quite sensitive. And there's a twist here. And if you're just reaching, you're not catching, or you prefer just to have the shin on the floor, that's totally fine. Good, release the shin down or tuck the toes. Step back into a high plank. Vinyasa or no vinyasa, back into downward facing dog. Let's sink the right heel, float the left leg up. Step the foot forward in between the hands, take the left hand inside. Walk yourself through a wide-legged fold and come all the way back around towards the right leg. And we'll glide the back foot forward to fold. Coming all the way up to standing. As you inhale, take the fingertips onto the tips of the shoulders, lifting your right heel. And as you maybe lift the right leg, twist towards the knee. Open the arms with the palms facing upwards. And then as you windmill the back arm up and over, the leg moves back. Right fingertips come to the floor. Catch a hold of the foot here. If you can find it, fish around. Gluing the knees together. Take the fingertips to the floor, curl in, and step back with your right toes. Fabric's far away. Grab a hold of your brick, take it to the inside of the foot. I'm going to turn around so I'm the same way as you. Put your right leg out there. Bring your back heel down. Right arm lifts you up into your warrior two. Left arm comes to rest on the brick and just bring it underneath the shoulder. As you straighten the leg, arm comes up and over. Inhale, you could look up. Exhale, bend the knee, look down as the arm comes onto the top edge of the body. But keep the chest open. Inhaling. Feel the length through both sides of your body. Exhale. One more time. Inhaling. Exhaling. Good. Push into the front foot. Move the block a little bit further forward. Come back into a warrior two. The right fingertips are going to drift to the floor as you twist. You could look down towards the fingertips. As you straighten the left leg, turn the toes in. Move the fingertips a bit more central if necessary. Extend through the spine, possibly looking up towards that thumb. And if you're quite open, hyperextended, just make sure that arm isn't hanging back too much here. So you've got that lovely line from fingertip to fingertip. As you turn your right toes out a little bit, feed that left arm behind, bend the knee. Take a hold of the shin of the ankle, and then lift your right upper arm and spin the chest and gaze underneath the arm. Release and walk yourself around towards the right foot, lowering your back knee down onto the earth. Have something soft if you need. Take the hips forward. Float your right arm up. And maybe you're going to reach back, picking the foot off the floor. Catch a hold if you can. There's an opening from shoulder to shoulder here. And then releasing the toes to the floor. Take the hands to the earth. Lift your back knee. Step back into a high plank. Any vinyasa, or simply lift your hips back up into down dog. And from your downward facing dog, sinking your left heel, floating your right leg up. Step the foot in between the hands, right hand to the inside. Walk yourself through a wide-legged fold. Maybe we'll pause here for a moment. If the head is on the floor and it's compressing the neck or the spine, you'd like somewhere to hang to, then wiggle your feet a little bit closer. If on the other hand you're very high, wiggle your feet a little bit wider. If there's a lot of flexibility, then just think of lengthening your sit bones slightly down towards the heels. If not, maybe bend the knees a little bit and slide the sit bones up towards the ceiling. Let's walk ourselves around towards the left foot and glide the back foot forward to fold. Come all the way up to standing as you inhale, fingertips onto the tips of your shoulders. And just a little figure of 8. Just a gentle one now to release. Breathing. Teasing open the tissues of the lungs, opening up into the intercostal muscles and rib cage, and then in the opposite way. Great. Float the arms off the shoulders as you reach up. Start to come down here, reaching the arms forward. Just as far as you can. You might be here, you might have to lift the heels, you might come here, you might be able to sit all the way down. So let's stretch the legs out in front of us. And just walk from sit bone to sit bone. Feet are flexed. Pick up your left heel or left knee so the heel slides back. Right hand comes onto the outer shin, left thumb behind you. And press the knee out a little bit so the knee isn't falling in towards the midline. Lift out of these bottom back sets of fingers. This might be where you are, or you could slide your hand onto the ankle or the foot. I'm going to slide the heel forward as you exhale. Maybe take the hand onto the sacrum to give yourself a bit more lift. And then inhale, bring it back. 2 more times, sliding the heel forward on the sit bone, and then bring it back. 1 more time. Exhaling. Inhaling. Possibly picking the foot off the floor, so you're still in a little twist. You might be halfway bent, you may be able to straighten the leg, you could reach the arm out, so quite a few variables. Bending the knee and sliding the heel forward. Picking up your right knee so the heel slides back. Left hand to the outside of the shin or the thigh, right thumb behind you. You could come forward a little bit, lower belly attaches to the thigh, right hand maybe onto the sacrum. So you're giving yourself a little bit of an uplift here. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. 1 more time. And then picking up the foot, come into maybe a half pose, maybe a full pose. Hand can stay here. You might need it to come back onto the floor, or you can raise the arm. Just be careful not to pull that leg across you too much. Bending the knee, taking the heel to the floor and sliding the leg away. Great. So perhaps you want to turn yourself so you're facing the long edge of your mat. And we're going to take the legs a little bit wider. Not so much that you feel yourself sitting onto your tailbone. So we've got the 2 ischial tuberosities, your sit bones, and the tailbone that drops behind. So it's like a little tripod of bones. Although the tailbone curls under, so you possibly won't feel it on the floor unless you're really rolling back towards the coccyx. So you want to roll towards the front of the sit bones rather than that rolling backwards, which may mean bringing the legs a little bit narrower. Flex the feet so you're balancing on the heels. Yeah, so you might be here with the hands behind you. If you're collapsing, you can slide the heart up the sternum, give yourself a lift here. So this may be your pose. If it's very difficult, you could sit up on a block, which will give yourself a little bit more height, a little bit of elevation to the hips. Or you could take the Right hand to the outside of your left thigh. Little twist. Straighten your right leg. And just have an awareness of the leg that you can't see. Awareness of where that leg is in space. Rooting down from the sit bone all the way underneath the leg towards the heel. So your sense of proprioception. Just having the perception of where your body is in space when you can't see it. And if you wanted to go further, then you could begin to straighten the other leg. Slide the hand down towards the ankle. Maybe the left arm wraps around the waist, tucking the fingers onto the top of the spine. Careful not to lift up out of that right sit bone. So that might be a nice little anchor. Or hand could come onto the sacrum. There's a couple of options. Unwinding yourself back through to the center. Take the hands underneath the knees, draw the heels up. So again, you might be here and this might be your pose. You maybe take the left hand to the outside of the thigh or the shin. Right thumb in line with the tailbone. Stretch your left leg straight. Have an awareness of the leg that you can't see. Pushing the knee out a little bit here as you breathe. And sliding the right leg away. Coming forward with the leg, perhaps. Right arm can wrap around the waist. Might be useful to help with that dropping down at the top of the thigh. Or hand onto the sacrum. And there's always these little micro movements that you can make to create a little bit more length and space, maybe a little bit more ease in the pose. And coming out of this, and just once again, hands underneath the knees. Draw the heels up a little bit. Take the fingertips to the floor. You might be here. You might come a little bit further forward, maybe palms down, maybe coming towards the elbows, forearms. You could straighten the legs, so there's various options. And if you're just upright here, perfect, wonderful. Couple of breaths, maybe close your eyes. Notice any resistance to being here. Notice what the mind throws up to distract us when we are perhaps not so comfortable or we're in a challenging situation. Walking your hands back towards you as you come back upright. Easing your legs out of this. Let's take a long Baddha Konasana. The soles of the feet can be together, or you could flex the feet. That's quite a nice one. If you've got any tenderness in the knees, that may be a good option. Resting the outer edges of the feet down, hands onto the shins, lift your heart, walk your hands forward. Fingers can come inside the arches of the feet or around the tops of the toes. You can do a little sway as you snuggle yourself inside of the legs, and then maybe let your head release down here. Again, if you're here, if you're upright, brilliant, wonderful. Just be where you are. With no judgment, with no wishing that things were anything other than the way that they are right now. Let's make our way up out of this. And gently drawing the knees towards one another. Coming towards the front of the mat. Curl your tailbone under. And release yourself down onto the earth. Draw your knees towards your chest. And just mold the hands over the fronts of the kneecaps. We're going to rotate slowly around the clock face of our pelvis. So moving your knees forward, take the weight towards the tailbone, towards 12 o'clock, first in a clockwise direction. And then over to 1, to 2, to 3, to 4, to 5, to 6, when the knees point towards the chin. To 7, to 8, to 9, to 10, 11, 12. Back to the tailbone. From 12 to 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6 in the center, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 12. Raise the arms up and overhead by the ears. If that's too much, you can bring your arms up to the sides or even lower down by the sides of your body. Shrug the shoulder blades down the back and drop your knees over to the right. Now you could have your block, if you had one, in between your knees to give yourself a little bit of support. Soften the elbows as you arrive here, and if you're not enjoying the arms being here, take a different variation. Just taking a couple of breaths. Now you could walk your feet to the other side. Engage your core muscles and squeeze the brick or block as you bring your knees back through to the center. Just move the arms if you need to. And then take the knees over to the other side. It may feel different on this side to the other. Soften the elbows, soften the palms. Breathe behind the navel. Now either walking the feet back or squeezing the block and taking the knees back. Take it out of the way. Place the feet to the floor. Bring your arms down by your sides, palms facing up. And you can choose to take your feet a little bit wider and drop the knees in to touch one another, which creates a bit of spaciousness across the back of the sacrum, or stretch your legs forward into full Shavasana, or maybe knees over a bolster if you have one. And begin to settle yourself down into Shavasana. Finding the center seam of your body and allowing everything to spill outwards. Little toe edges of your feet drift to the floor. Base of your thumbs roll around and down. And just engage a few breaths to help you settle before letting go entirely. Letting go of any attachments you may have to your practice, any thoughts or feelings. Allowing yourself to rest just for a few minutes in Shavasana. If you are just beginning to settle some more. If you know you've got a little extra time to spend. If you know you need to close your practice on time, like to close with me, then just begin your journey back to the body, to the breath. Make some small movements, maybe fiddling, wiggling fingers and toes. And rolling across the back of your skull, releasing the neck. And rolling yourself over to the right side. Make a pillow for your head with your right upper arm. And the left hand comes onto the floor by your face. It's a nice way to come out of Shavasana without jarring the nervous system. And then using your left hand on the earth, begin to spiral your way back to any comfortable seat. Might be cross-legged, might be sitting on the shins. Turn the palms upwards, take a big inhale as you float your arms up, palms into prayer. And as you exhale, draw your thumbs down your midline past Anya Chakra, your third eye, the Shuddha Chakra at the base of the throat, down to rest at Anahata Chakra at the heart space, where we join with one another. Allow your head towards the tips of the fingers and gently open your eyes here. And with an open heart and a quiet mind, gently raise your gaze. Namaste. Thank you everybody for joining me. Have a beautiful day.